For as long as there has been a reality, there have been rifts to distort it. Tears in the very fabric of existence, rifts open portals across space, reality, and even time. Many mortals have tried to tame the rifts. They have failed. That is, until an object was found that changed everything. The Eye of Zeberon. A massive black hole whose event horizon was laced with ley lines that converged into the biggest nexus ever seen. The first temporal gate was constructed in the nexus, allowing travel through space and time. A society known as the Commonwealth was created to protect and regulate use of the temporal gate. Soon, more anomalies like the Eye of Zeberon were found, and more temporal gates were created. Some were under the control of criminals and unethical corporations who used the gates to travel back through time and create new timelines that threatened to unravel reality itself. In order to prevent such disasters, the Commonwealth formed the Corsairs, elite bounty hunters charged with traveling anywhere and any time to stop criminals before they could split reality apart. They are the first and only defense against those who threaten our very existence. This is their story.
All 6 of you have been in the academy for 2 years, and yesterday you took the written exam. For every Corsair student who has finished their 2 years of core curriculum, at the end of every semester, which is 3 times a year, you have the chance to take a written exam. If you pass the written exam, then you have a chance to take the final exam. Passing both of these is required to graduate and become a Corsair. Eventually, the professor comes in. Professor Talkin is a professor that you have all had for several classes. He is not exactly what you would call an easy teacher, but he is considered a very good teacher. He comes in with no papers or anything, comes up to the desk and holds up his hands for the quiet of the room, and he says, "It would seem 6 of you passed the written exam, and will take the final exam tomorrow. You 6, when I call your names, please stand up, and then wait until I've dismissed the rest of the class so that I may give you further information on what to expect tomorrow. Evelyn Connors. Zach Spender.
Zach will stand up after giving a reassuring wink to the blonde student to his right.
Jack Spender. Oak. Domhnall. And then, with a pause and his fingers to the bridge of his nose, he says, Lucien Core.
Yes! I stand up, kick over my chair by accident, look around, and just flash everyone a brilliant smile. Look around, realize that only Dom is smiling at me, and I flash him a thumbs up.
Although, later on, you might recall Zach is smiling, but it's the tight grin of a sarcastic grin.
I wave to Zach.
I nod to Core and turn back to the front of the class.
The other students all look disappointed, varying levels of disappointed. Some resigned, some rather upset. And the professor looks at all of them and says, "The rest of you failed the written exam, but you didn't really fail. You're trying to become a Corsair, one of the elite of the galaxy. This is not easy, and it is not always fast. We understand how difficult it can be. And the only way you'll fail is if you give up, because we will not give up. Go home, spend time with your family, your friends, think about anything other than your studies here, and come back next semester ready to try again. Class dismissed." And as they file out, the professor motions the 6 of you up to around his desk.
As we move up to the desk, Zach is going to give a happy sideways kind of shoulder hug to his brother. Just a celebratory gesture.
Yeah, I pat Cor on the back and follow him up to the front of the class.
Passing by, I notice your very stoic expression. I try to match it and stoically give you a secret handshake.
Are you not happy? I figured you'd be happy you passed.
I'm extremely happy. What are you talking about? Are you happy?
Yes, but you're not smiling.
Yeah, you aren't smiling either.
I'm not?
It's called solidarity. We're part of the same team now.
Students.
Yeah.
Students, please. I wanted to congratulate you all. And he looks at Cor. I'm surprised at some of the turnouts.
Cor looks around. Me too.
He nods and he says, "You all did very well. I can't tell you exactly what to expect tomorrow, but I can give you certain information. Tomorrow's final exam is going to involve an actual bounty. You are Corsairs, after all, and we give you an amazing amount of freedom, and we have to be sure that you will behave appropriately under pressure. You will be assigned a bounty from a real criminal and told to track them down. A veteran Corsair will accompany you on every stage of the journey. I can't tell you how to pass, but I can tell you this. Success is not always the one path to victory. I've seen Corsair students fail to capture a bounty and still become Corsairs. And I've seen students capture a bounty quickly and still fail. Tomorrow morning, you will all gather at 8 a.m. And he gives you a room to a place that you all know, but none of you have ever been. It's on another part of the academy grounds. All of the Corsairs, including full Corsairs and cadets, live in the academy. Corsair Command is at the center of the academy. And this is in a place where you students have generally not been allowed to go. It's called a briefing room. It is a place where real Corsairs or full-fledged Corsairs assign new bounties and get whatever information they can. He says, from this point forward, you will be treated as Corsairs until we deem that you shouldn't be. Are there any questions of me?
Cor looks around, sees that nobody's putting their hands up. He tentatively puts his up.
I'm lost in consideration.
Yes, Lucian?
Just overall, give me a general idea. What are the chances that all of us are going to come back from this? Like, can you give me a ballpark figure?
He looks at each of you and says, being a Corsair is a dangerous job, and you will be hunting a real criminal. However, you are all very talented. I've watched you for the past 2 years. Personally, I think you all have what it takes to pass. And then he pauses. Especially, Lucian, you already passed what I thought would be the most difficult part for you, the written exam.
I whistle.
He then looks to Evelyn and he says, Evelyn, you not only received the highest score of your class, but of the year in the written exam. But I know that you are shy. Tomorrow's test may be difficult, but I believe you have what it takes.
Are we,
You six...
Oh, sorry. She raises her hand, covering her mouth.
He goes, yes.
So we're all gonna be going together, or are we being graded individually?
He nods.
All right.
He looks at each of you and he says, you should get used to each other. Normally, Corsairs that take the final exam together and pass end up assigned to the same unit. If you intend to pass this test, you will work together.
Good to know.
It's one thing Jack and I can do. It's work together.
Cor and I are familiar with this as well.
Cor gives Dom a sideways, incredibly giddy, slap-happy secret handshake while trying to maintain a serious demeanor, befitting the situation.
I more or less just hold my hand still and out as Cor slaps it a bunch.
I maintain eye contact with the professor, trying to communicate the gravity of what we're being given.
The Professor Tolkien says, Corsair units are often cut off from almost everything but each other. those who cannot work together do not survive long. Unless there's anything else, you have free time until tomorrow morning.
Nothing else, Professor. Thank you.
Turning his head, he'll lay his eyes on Dom and point to him. You. I have a few questions for you. It's important.
I glance between everyone and then back to Oak. Very well. Ask.
I'll just be over here.
He'll step forward a bit. Well, if you're comfortable here.
I see no reason why I shouldn't be.
How will your organs differ from humans?
I haven't had extensive looks at them, but I imagine quite considerably. I bring up a hand and touch the side of my face that is scaled somewhat. As you can see, I'm certain I'm not exactly, I motion to core, human.
I noticed. Fascinating. Well, if you want me to work on you, I'd like some details.
I've been curious about my own organs myself for quite some time, and I admit I don't have the expertise to check them out. I suppose it might be helpful to me to know how I tick.
He gives it a toothy grin.
I return a somewhat awkward smile, and then look to Core for reassurance that this is what I should do.
Look at you, making friends.
This is a friend? I motion at Oak.
I shrug and shake my head.
This is my friend Core. I motion to Core. You can look at his organs too, I'm sure.
Whoa, whoa, whoa! Oh boy.
If you do have any major differences with other normal humans, please do tell.
Not exactly eager to find out.
I shrug. He has an uncanny knack for surviving.
Thank
I'm sure that
you?
Yes. Of course. I'm sure by now you are mostly scar tissue. You must be.
Okay. Let's keep it down in front of the... Okay.
Oh.
Not in front of the new guys yet. I don't want to have to box you quite yet.
Oh, I'm sorry. Was I not supposed to tell them? Or was that...
Mostly scar tissue makes me sound like a big lump of gross material, man.
But it's true.
I'm just trying to... Can I be cool for at least 10 minutes around newbie? Okay, never mind. We'll talk about that.
Oak is actually looking at you up and down.
Core, apparently distressed, wanders away and begins to play with something, begins to play with a lighter.
I step after Core, nodding to Oak. Completely forgetting to ask your name.
During this scene, Zach would have paid relative attention, but noticing Evelyn tried to kind of sneak out, he would very coyly go to an intercept pattern and say, hey, it was Evelyn, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, Zach, not too sure if you got my name. I have a quick question for you, if you don't mind, since we'll be working together, get to know each other a little bit more, if that works.
I got this thing.
Just one question.
Okay.
Just one little question. I heard the professor mention that you got a really high score. What score exactly did you get?
A really high one?
Yeah, but like number. What number was it?
I guess perfect.
You got 150?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I got 147. There's no big deal. That's good. That's great. Good for you.
Okay.
Awesome.
All right.
Yeah. Wow. You're awesome. Well, I'll let you go. Don't get nervous. I'll see you tomorrow.
Yeah. See you later. Bro.
just Zach. Just Zach. Doesn't have to be. All right. Bye.
Yeah, dude. I'll see you around. Evelyn is like running into desks as he's trying to escape.
I'll let her go.
Yeah, the door is at the bottom of the class.
She's taking the long way.
Yeah, I turn and watch Evelyn as she slams into the majority.
Yeah, I think everyone's watching.
Yeah.
Just dead silence.
I muse aloud to no one in particular. I think that we may have to watch out for her during tomorrow's mission. She does not seem particularly
I elbow
coordinated.
In the gut.
Look at that. She's having difficulty with chairs. They do not even move.
Harder this time.
She's nervous. Leave her alone. It's fine.
All right, well, see you guys tomorrow. Bye. Bye.
Bye, Evelyn.
Yeah.
I wave.
Later. Bye.
And you will see that Jack has no weapons.
Neither does Zach.
I have a ratty briefcase.
Evelyn is just pulling at her braid nervously.
When we enter, Zach will ask Lucian in French, "What's with the briefcase, friend?"
Lucian looks down and answers in incredibly butchered French with a heavy accent that you can't quite place.
Yeah.
He says, well, these are my supplies. You know, I can't go anywhere without
Surprise? You have a surprise for us? He says in French. Your French is really bad.
Lucian laughs in French.
What?
He taps the briefcase on the side. He says, in a manner of speaking, it is a supplies. Butchering the phrase entirely. You're quite unsure of what he says. He wanders away with a happy smile on his face.
Okay. Zach will give a resigned shrug. And actually, he'll whisper over to Evelyn, "We were in French club together. He's not very good."
Okay.
Well, you were just look confused. That's all.
Oh, no, I wasn't actually listening.
I can teach you some French later on if you like.
No, there's draft. I'll just don't mind.
The door opens, and a woman in a Corsair uniform wheels in. She's actually in a wheelchair. That the odd thing about this wheelchair is only that the wheels seem to be thicker than you would expect in a wheelchair. And she rolls in. She looks at each of you. She wears glasses, very neatly kept hair. Her uniform looks impeccably clean. And she says, "Hello, my name is Wansuk. I take it you are the ones taking the exam today?"
Certainly. What title should we refer to you, our instructor?
She laughs. She goes, I'm not actually your instructor. Not for this test. I am going to be your operator.
Operator.
And then she looks at some of the blank faces.
I motion to Oak. Operator? Like surgeon?
No.
No, dummy. Oh, God.
She begins to roll around to the other end. She says, Corsairs are not common bounty hunters or thugs. We have several advantages because, well, we're the best. Corsair operators are one of those advantages. I will stay in radio contact with you during your mission using the use of an AAG, which is an atomic anomaly generator, a pair of computers which can create a small microscopic wormhole to allow you to bounce radio waves from any place or time. Any of you who have radios that are synced to the proper channel, which you will have, can contact me, and I can feed you information or anything else that you might require. I don't actually go with you, she motions to the wheelchair. My field days are behind me. But I can be a useful asset, and I make sure that you all have information needed. Your instructor, actually, and as she says that, the door opens again, and she waltzes in, holding her hand to her forehead, and she says, Wansuk, I swear to God, if you brought me here for paperwork, And then she looks around, and then she goes, No, and she turns around to leave again. And Wansuk says, it was a request from Admiral Faith. The new woman lowers her head, slumps her shoulders, and you hear a very quiet, I'm not ready for this yet. And then you hear a deep intake of breath. The woman squares her shoulders, and she spins around again. She looks at each of you in turn, and she says, "So you're taking the final exam, I suppose?"
Mm-hmm.
You're absolutely right, and we plan on acing it.
Mm-hmm.
I see. And she looks at each of you again, and then she stops and looks at Evelyn and squints her eyes at Evelyn. And then she says, "Wansuk, am I still drunk?" Wansuk says, "Nope." "But am I?" "Yes." "Okay, then." And then she turns around and starts marching to the other side of the table.
Zach gives a very worried look to his brother.
Evelyn coughs and, like, looks around like, oh.
I bow my head, lost in thought, considering what maybe she was referencing.
The only emotion that Jack betrays is he raises a single eyebrow. That's it.
Oh, that's not good. Just wait till you
The new woman straightens up as much as she can. She says, "My name is Charlotte. And while I understand first impressions are important and I screwed that one up royally, I will be your instructor. I will be with you for every step of the way, grading you, but certainly not guiding you. I will not take part in any fights, decisions, or choices. I am simply an observer. Understood?"
Crystal clear.
Evelyn nods.
"Are you familiar with the Corsair tenets?"
Evelyn nods again.
Refresh my memory. I've got them down pat. I'm just making sure my notes are correct.
For the first time, he's going to speak for the first time since you've actually sort of met him. Except for Zach. Zach knows the sound of his voice. Do not cause the death of an innocent. An innocent is defined by anyone not connected to or aiding your current bounty. Follow the laws and customs of whatever environment you are in. If said laws or customs impede your ability to track down and apprehend a bounty, do everything you can to work within their rules. Do not use technology, magic, or psionics in environments where such things are restricted by Corsair Command, and always obey orders by Corsair Command.
Charlotte actually looks at you wide-eyed, rather impressed.
Lucian,
I stare at him the whole time, studying his face as he speaks.
Lucian visibly jumps when he hears the noise emit from Jack, who had been silent until that point.
Evelyn does the same thing.
Zach just gives a proud smile and a wink.
Charlotte nods, and then she says, "The tenets are what we follow because our reputation is everything. We are given an enormous amount of responsibility and power, and if we abuse it, the Commonwealth will fall." And then she looks around at each of you in turn. "Any questions before we get started?"
I raise my hand.
"Yes, that guy."
My name is Domhnall. My question is, if you're not going to be assisting or taking part in any way during the excursion, why do you need to come with?
She grimaces and under her breath says, "Wish I knew." And then she more loudly says, "Most Corsairs, all Corsairs, are fitted with the REC, the internal recording device that activates whenever you use restricted equipment or at will. This is generally how Corsairs are tracked by the Commonwealth to make sure that we are doing our jobs correctly. As you are cadets, you don't have one. You are going to be in a different place, perhaps even a different time. Normal methods of observing will be useless. If someone does not come with you to physically observe you, there will be no way to know what you have or have not done."
Are you given leave to intervene if we break the rules?
She hesitates for a moment, and she says, "I will not intervene, except for 2 reasons. If you are trying to murder or kill an innocent, I will do my best to stop you. If you are about to get yourselves killed, I'll consider stepping in." And she gives kind of a half smile.
I nod.
And, instructor, what are the contingencies if you are to be injured or killed?
Oh, I had not considered that.
She grimaces and she says, on that embarrassing moment, Wansuk will give you further guidance.
Well, let's hope it won't come to that, but as we've been trained, you always have to keep an eye out for all possibilities.
Wansuk nods and says, in that moment, I will direct you on how to finish the exam and return home immediately. It would not count against you if she does something so foolish. And she kind of looks at Charlotte. Actually, Wansuk motions to Oak and says, well, hello there.
Hello. My question is for the... I'm sorry, I don't remember your name at the moment.
Oh, Wansuk actually looks a little disappointed. Charlotte says, yes.
Would you like anything for that, I assume, nasty hangover?
Charlotte looks at you and says, are you serious?
Absolutely.
She walks around the table, puts her hands on your shoulders, and kisses you on the forehead. And says, yes!
I made a mistake.
He'll go through a pouch, pull out a leaf, close his hand, and make a long exhale with his breath. Eat this, and your hangover will be gone.
Eat what exactly?
It is a leaf of the holy thistle.
I nod my head as he's speaking and address Charlotte. He is a very credible man. He's offered so kindly to take a look at my organs.
Wansuk stares at you. Charlotte unceremoniously puts the leaf in her mouth and starts chewing. And she goes, my day is looking up already. Okay. And she immediately, it's almost like a change from lack of energy to fully energetic. And she says, we've got a test to take. What's our test? And she looks over to Wansuk. Wansuk taps a button on the table, and a 3D image of a man with short blonde hair pops up. And Wansuk says, this man is a smuggler. He's been charged with... No, Charlotte interrupts. That's so boring. Why do they always choose the boring ones for exams? She looks at all of you and says, for exams, they always send you after some small fry who's really not much of a threat, nor much of a challenge. You guys want to be Corsairs, don't you?
I'm okay.
Yes.
Like, Evelyn raises her hand. I'm okay with that. If that's what they want, then I don't see why we should not follow directions.
Zach will say, but on the flip side, you can't truly evaluate a person unless you truly challenge them. I'm for something a little...
I'm with that too.
Charlotte pulls out a small book, an actual paper book, which all of you have heard of and you've seen older copies of before. It's called a bingo book. A bingo book lists all the current bounties that a Corsair can accept. It is, you would know this, written in book form for two reasons. One, so that a Corsair can carry it with them in any environment. And two, because books are harder to hack.
That sounds like a challenge. Our first challenge is to hack this book!
She thumbs through the book, and as she thumbs through it, she says, Corsairs are designed to help the universe, to bring actual important... And she tears out a page. This one will do nicely. And she flings it on the table. When she places it on the table, you hear a kind of robotic voice from the table. Wanted, man-eater, female. Last known location, planet Faustus. List of known crimes, murder, assault, cannibalism. Currently wanted for creating an alternate timeline. SDC weapons and abilities restriction only. Bounty, 600,000 credits.
600,000.
It's quite a lot.
Split 6 ways.
Charlotte nods. And since you're taking on a bounty, regular bounty rules apply. In addition to the actual bounty on their head, we like to encourage our Corsairs to bring our captures back alive so they can face justice by trial instead of justice by gun. If you bring a bounty back alive and relatively unharmed, and by that I mean no irreparable damage, you will receive an additional 50%. If you come back successful, and I deem that you have behaved in ways appropriate of a Corsair, you will receive an additional 25% on top of that.
Interesting. And what is your criteria for judging if we have behaved appropriately for Corsairs? And I mean no insult, I'd appreciate it if you laid it out.
She shakes her head, no insult taken. The Corsair tenets, of course, are the rules to live by beyond anything. But, more importantly, your job, beyond all else, is to stop alternate timelines from ever being created. But if you do so by stepping on toes, by being belligerent and mean to the ones who are not involved in your investigation, you hurt the reputation of the Corsairs on a whole. The worse our reputation is, the less power other civilizations give us to do our job. Follow the Corsair tenets, and I promise you, you will always be an upstanding Corsair.
I turn to Cor. I may need some help with that. I always seem to be... People always tell me I give off a rather foul mood.
Oh, you're perfectly upstanding. You're one of the most upstanding individuals I know.
I am quite tall.
Okay, listen. I turn to Charlotte. I say we do this thing. I mean, like, the value of the Corsairs, or at least the value I take from it, is, going all out, you know, doing all you can. And if we can't get nuts on the training mission, when can we get nuts? I stop for a second. Don't answer that. Probably a week afterwards. We could probably get nuts a week afterwards. Gotta pass first. Let's do it anyway, though. Come on, guys, let's take a challenge.
Well, I was never against it. Why are you trying to convince me?
A challenge, Dom. Imagine it.
It seems a rather appropriate challenge.
The rest of you see Charlotte mouthing to Wansuk, is this guy for real?
Jack will stare at her and just slowly nod.
Wansuk will say, anyway, as you can tell, if we are actually doing this, you are going to a society that has not yet achieved a technological level which we deem appropriate to use energy weapons or anything of the kind. You will be restricted to SDC weapons and vehicles. Of course, with the exceptions of any MDC armor you requisition, they will be under lock and key, but I'm sure you all understand how that works. If you need to use them, you will call into me for clearance. The only other information I can offer you is that the Man-Eater is a known technomage. She prefers to use magic to enhance technology.
And you mentioned that the place that we are going has not yet achieved anything beyond SDC. Does that mean that we should try to lure Man-Eater somewhere where civilians will not see us fighting her?
Wansuk taps a few keys on the table, looking up at a database, and she says, it appears that planet Vostis does have forms of magic. So psionic abilities and magic abilities that are not too powerful would be acceptable. As far as how you deal with Man-Eater, understand that she does not follow the same rules we do. You may need to adapt. Charlotte says, if there's no other questions, shall we go to requisitions? Oh! Dearie me, I almost forgot. She taps something on a wrist bracelet of hers. Since we're going on something slightly unexpected, I'm giving you all a surplus of 5,000 credits transferred directly to your accounts. Use those for requisition purposes. And she says, with that, follow me. She begins to walk out and walk down the hallway, or the corridors. This is actually outside, where you can look up into space and the Eye of Zeberon itself.
On our way following her, Zach is going to slide next to Oak and say, that was a clever tactic, helping our instructor curing her hangover. It already puts us in a favorable view. Pretty cunning.
He looks up. You notice that he's actually looking like he's trying to shake some cobwebs out of his head. And seems to be failing to do so. And he goes, kindness for the sake of kindness, nothing more.
Okay. Zach says, not admonished at all.
I lag behind a little bit listening in on your conversation.
Oh, okay. Oh, okay.
Evelyn looks like she is going to be very sick. She's dragging behind.
I asked Dom really quickly, we just got 5,000 credits. How fast do you think I can run to the market and back? They're running a sale on Galarngambone's Skyhound. I kind of want to get on that, you know?
I can stall for you if you would like.
If it comes to it, man, if it comes to it.
Okay.
When you guys enter the next room, you find an armory. It is sectioned off by a piece of strong, what looks like glass-like material, behind which is every kind of weapon you can imagine. Corsairs style energy weapons, SDC type weapons. It is, for lack of a better term, an armory. When you enter, you hear a voice call from behind. Just a moment. Someone from your class known only as Guy.
Hello, how can I... Oh, you guys. Oh. Yeah, I was just in back recording some poetry to pour out the pain in my soul. So, I guess you're going on the test. I mean, not like I care.
That's why we're here. Not here for the view.
What restrictions did they place on you for the mission?
SDC weapons only. In case of an emergency.
Yeah, I feel you, man. My parents said while I'm staying with them, I'm restricted from playing guitar at night. Totally sucks. Well, anyway, just go ahead and take a look around. Tell me what you want.
Hey, Jack. What are your piloting skills? I got jetpack and robots and power armor. That's it.
He will simply say, robots and hovercraft.
Okay. I suggest we do anti-vehicle, because we can do anti-personnel with our small arms weapons, no problem. Anti-vehicle, on the other hand, might be a little tricky. So it's good to have that contingency in case we get in the shit.
I nod, in agreement.
Charlotte pipes up, are we getting an ATV then, for those who don't want motorcycles?
Yes, but I can't pilot it.
I can...
Who can drive one? Okay, sorry, go ahead.
Evelyn raises her hand.
You in the back.
I can drive it.
Charlotte will put an arm around Evelyn and say, see? She can drive it.
Fantastic, perfect.
Seeing as how you just efficiently picked out all of your gear and seemed to know what you were doing, Cora's going to embarrassedly press up against the glass whisper to you, "Hey Zach, help me out a bit here. What should I get?"
Well, the field manual on page 47 suggests that
The two talk for 10 minutes, Cor nodding his head. Cor comes back a little bit later with a vibro knife and as many rations as he can carry.
Oh boy, okay.
I address Cor. Did you already spend all of your money?
No. I'm holding on to it, you know?
Good, because from what I understand, what we don't spend, we get to keep.
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
Right?
Right.
I mean, obviously, I'm gonna need a lot of food for the road, and Zach's vibro knife was admittedly really impressive, so, got some of that.
Don't spend your money on a vehicle. I was planning on getting a motorcycle and piloting it. We don't want you driving again.
Don't worry about that, Dom. All I'm thinking about is fish.
Good. I haven't thought about fish at all, so I'll count on you for that.
With that, Charlotte leads you all to the spaceport hangar. She says, "Come along, children."
Children?
I look around for the children. How old are you, Cor?
Why are you looking at me like that?
Well, You seem young, and she was addressing children that were present.
Keep going. Keep going. See what happens.
That's all I had to say.
Oh, okay.
As you guys enter the spaceport, you see a beautiful, magnificent-looking vessel made, painted white and black. And she looks at that and she says, "That's not for you. Not yet. Ours is over there." And she points to a rather bulky and blocky transport. She says, "Only full-fledged Corsairs get their ship. It's a rite of passage, if you will."
Oak is actually going to wander over and lay a hand on the ship.
I observe Oak as he does so.
Charlotte will see you and come over and she'll say, "You feel something?"
He will wander his eyes over to her and go, "Yes."
Charlotte will nod and say, "They say that these ships aren't truly aware, but I swear mine used to sing to me when she was alive." And then she turns around and starts walking away. You guys board a, like I said, a bulky transport. The ATV rolls up into it along with the motorcycle that was requisitioned. The power armor that was requisitioned is fitted into the transport in a special teleportation type device that can teleport inorganic matter to a specified location, since you can't carry power armor with you. And once everyone is aboard, the ship takes off slowly and begins to exit the city of Zeberon. As you rise up above the city that you've been in for the past 2 years, you see the city of 30 million people spread out below you. The hum of the streets still audible from where you are. You are given clearance to exit the dome of Zeberon, the invisible barrier, and you begin your approach to the temporal gate, which is at the center of the Eye of Zeberon. It looks as though you're traveling towards a giant black eyeball with blue veins running towards the center point. After a few moments, the engines cut off as the gravity of the black hole pulls you towards it. Charlotte remarks as you approach it, "You know, the interesting thing about temporal gates is that if we miss it, we're never coming back."
That's not interesting, that's terrifying.
I was just going to comment on that.
She grins. "It's computerized."
Yeah, I don't feel better, because who made those computers, hmm?
As you get close to the temporal gate, you see what looks like shimmering from the ley lines themselves. A surge of power rushes from the ley lines towards the center, the temporal gate built upon the ley line nexus. And the gate blooms in a way that's hard to describe. The center of the gate fills with light, and through the center of the light you see space with stars and gas giants behind it. In the blink of an eye, you travel through the temporal gate into another section of space and time. It feels remarkably smooth. There's no vertigo, there's no buffeting, there's no sense that you've traveled more than a few seconds. But the computer readouts on your ship show that you are over 200 years in the past. You see a planet before you. The planet is about average size for what you're used to, though it has very little cloud cover and very little ocean, and it looks brown. As you approach it, Charlotte puts the shuttle into a high orbit around the planet and activates the AAG. She motions to all of you. You should all have radios. Tune in to this frequency, and she gives you a certain frequency. Once she's sure that you are all tuned into a frequency, she says, "Testing. One suit, can you hear us?" And then after a moment, you hear clear as bell back, "I have you loud and clear. Just keep that ship in orbit and I'll be able to contact you guys." And Charlotte says, "Great. Well then, shall we go?"
Will we have enough time to put on our SDC armor?
Oh, yes.
Oh, I have mine on right now, Zach says, embarrassed. He was changing during the time warp.
Charlotte looks at you and she says, "If I were you, I would put on your fully enclosed body armor. It's a long drop to the ground."
Okay.
What? How are we going to get our vehicle down there.
What are they teaching in the academy these days? The vehicle's airdrop. The shuttle has to remain in a stationary orbit, otherwise the AAGs can't communicate with each other.
Zach gets into the ATV that's gonna drop and like buckles himself up like 7 times.
She nods to Dom and says, "The motorcycle has restraining straps. Just make sure to keep your body armor until you touch down. The jets in the motorcycle and the ATV will slow the descent enough that you won't burn up on re-entry."
And you're certain of this? This has been done before?
She nods. She says, "All joking aside, I've done it countless times."
Well, that is not very reassuring, but still, my own experience is coming soon. I turn to Cor. Are you going to be on the ATV or on the motorcycle?
Hey guys, you got room for me on the ATV?
Yep. Although there's 1 or 2 less seatbelts, so better come quick. They're going fast.
So for the brief moment where he will be in his SDC armor, the left arm is completely bare. You'll be able to see a giant tattoo that spans from his shoulder to his elbow of a skull that looks like it's breaking out of his skin.
Huh. I make note of that.
Evelyn's gonna get behind the wheel on the ATV and kind of look around wildly at everyone that's in there with her. And she'll say, "Is everyone buckled up?"
Well, clicking the 6th strap against his chest, Zach goes, "As buckled up as I can be."
Okay, good.
Oh, yeah, I'm doing good. Cor says munching on a ration.
Are you buckled up? She looks at you. Are you buckled?
Cor nods.
You realize there isn't much steering when we're just dropping, right?
Listen, everything's fine.
Yep.
I know how to drive.
We're professional.
I've
We're
done
Corsairs
this.
now.
I aced the class. I'm learning. It's fine.
Oh wow, she aced the class.
Yeah.
We're gonna be fine, Zach.
We'll be okay. I am calm. I am very calm.
Look at how calm she is.
Yeah, super calm.
Super calm. Cor kicks back in his chair.
I scratch my head. Calm. I did not know that was calm. I don the armor, get on the motorcycle, and stare at Cor in the ATV.
I'll step for the motorcycle.
Oh, you got on wait, a different motorcycle or the one I'm on?
The one you're on. It's a 2-seater, right?
Yeah.
I turn to Oak and say, "We haven't really formally met. We've been in the same class, but I suppose since we're going to be burning up in the atmosphere of a planet, we might as well get to know one another."
Yeah, that's a good introduction.
I'm worried about the motorcycle. My name is Oak.
The motorcycle? Why that?
It's less protected than us.
I glance at her small, not particularly impressive armor. It's not. We are also, not mechanical. Though I suppose you are a doctor. I will trust your, I'll trust your opinion. I nod and, grip the handles of the motorcycle very tightly.
And with that, Charlotte, who is sitting in one of the seats in the ATV, hits a few buttons and the back of the transport decompresses and opens. And you see below you the planet far, far below you. And she says, "Well, shall we go hunt?"
I nod, very tense.
Yep, that's what we're here for.
Completely relaxed, I smile.
She nods and she says, looks at Evelyn and says, "Dear, you have to stop pressing on the brake."
Okay, yeah. Evelyn lifts up her foot and then just
Under your breath, you can hear 150 out of 150.
She nods, but her arms are just stretched out in front of her, grasping the wheel tightly.
As the ATV begins to roll out of the transport, you hear Charlotte say, and those of you on the motorcycle, you hear over the radio, from this point on, I'm an observer. You can ask me anything you want, but I don't promise I'll answer. And the ATV drops.
So wait, are Oak and I still in the thing, just watching the ATV slowly? I turn to Oak and nod, say, well, I suppose the motorcycle is, we'll have to drive it out. I'm Dom, by the way.
Hello, Dom.
I click the motorcycle on, turn it around, stare at the exit, at Oak, and then start I speed towards the exit.